Have you ever had to start an episode of your comic book show and you haven't got a clue what to say and you're racking your brains for an intro because you've got into this thing where you're doing these new intros and all that's in your head is the tournament and the intros and the thing itself and the camera in front of you and Steven behind the camera and you think, oh, that's meta. And that's also an in-joke?
That it is, and I have no idea what that has to do with our search for the greatest superhero of all time, but we're going to try and find out who the greatest superhero is of all time.
Okay, so we're back on our quest to find the greatest superhero of all time. We're going to get right into it, start duking it out. And you are going to talk about Batman?
I'm Batman this week, yep. And you are Namor the Submariner.
Yes, I am.
So, do you want to go first?
No, you can go first.
I can go first.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, what is there to say in this fight? What is there that I need to say about Batman? He's the goddamn Batman. He's the Dark Knight. He's the Cape Crusader. He's the world's greatest detective.
Oh yeah, why don't you just do that? Why don't you just name all of his nicknames?
What's
all of his aliases?
What's Namor's nicknames?
Submariner.
Yeah.
Mr. Sex.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. The Aquatic Seducer.
Isn't that Aquaman's?
No, it's definitely not Aquaman's.
Definitely not.
Aquaman does not seduce. He courts politely.
I thought you were going to go another way with that, but fair enough. It's very hard to talk about Batman and say stuff that hasn't been said a million times before with this character. Everyone knows his personality. Everyone knows how he's changed as a character over the time. He's... For the non-superhuman in the DC universe, he's the most famous member of the DC universe and probably one of the most famous faces in comic books today. He's a plethora of gadgets, all that he used to his disposal in brilliant effect. As I said, he's the world's greatest detective.
Why don't you tell me what he has that Submariner doesn't have?
Batcave. Submariner does not have a Batcave.
In terms of his character?
In terms of his character. What does he have? He has depth. He has a lot of depth.
Submariner doesn't have depth?
Well, I don't think he's got as much as Batman. Like, Batman has seen some traumatic moments in his life, some life-changing moments. We've had the introduction of his son over the years and how that affects him as a character. And he's got to put on this persona of Bruce Wayne, the classy billionaire, and that should be his life, what he does in reality. But he is the man behind the mask. He is the Batman. That is his personality.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is hard to talk about Batman without drifting into cliche. And this is a shame. Namor is great. Atlantean. Every comic book universe got to have one for some reason.
What's Dark Horse Comics?
I don't know.
Oh, it's Abe from Hellboy. There you go.
And what defines Namor really is the fact that he's the kind of ladies man that I can think of in comics. Maybe him and Johnny Storm, but Johnny Storm is nowhere near as successful. Namor will have sex with anything, man, woman, alien. Namor doesn't care.
Fish.
Well, he is part fish, so.
He's copped off with a dolphin at some point in his life.
He's copped off with everything. And he's cool, and he's like arrogant and brash. Yeah. And I really like Namor a lot. I think he's infinitely more interesting than Aquaman. But this is really trivial, isn't it?
Much like I said when Batman took on Hawkeye, it's Batman.
Yeah, you would be wrong, I think, to assume that is going to hold much weight any further on.
Yeah, no, I feel as though this is the last time that excuse is going to be used.
Because we've looked ahead and there are
some tough fights coming up.
Yeah,
but,
so that'll be interesting. But no, Submariner is great. Don't get me wrong.
I think he's a great character, and I love the fact that he started off as a villain, and he still has his moments against humanity.
The very first mutant.
Yeah, fantastic character, but I think it's safe to say it's Batman this round.
Yeah. But we'll move on.
Indeed we shall. Indeed we shall. So this round we have Dr. Manhattan versus Swamp Thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
That is a very odd pairing. So do you want to talk a little bit about Dr. Manhattan?
Dr. Manhattan, weirdly, I can only really, it's just that one book.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Before Watchmen, but not really. Like, everything Dr. Manhattan is from Alan Moore's book. Yeah. And so what he is the fear. I mean, he's a bit Superman, except infinitely more powerful. He has echoes of the way Superman is used in Frank Miller's The Dark Knight as a kind of nuclear deterrent, as a government weapon. But also he embodies this kind of existential anxiety of the time and of kind of infinity and what does it mean to live and die. And actually, some of those Dr. Manhattan captions in Watchmen are some of the most beautiful and emotionally engaging panels in the whole book. Like, some of the scenes where he's out on Mars and he's talking to Laurie and he's so cold and she loves him. They're heartbreaking and memorable and really, really show just how good of a writer Alan Moore is, just how much of a genius he is. And I think Dr. Manhattan is wonderful, and we don't have much like him that I can think of. Certainly never as well written. Possibly the best written superhero of all time. The inner monologue has always paled in comparison after that moment in comics history for me.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I can see inspirations of him everywhere else. You know, you've got little remnants in Superman and then some in Vision and people like that. But yeah, there is only one Dr. Manhattan. However, there is also only one Swamp Thing. Another
only one of all of them.
That's very true. That's very true. Swamp Thing was kind of brought to popularity again by Alan Moore. That was his big famous run. And it was the first mainstream horror comic, I would say, in the DC universe. And it's kind of based on the premise that Swamp Thing is the fear of nature, and that nature isn't something to just, that, you know, we cut down and destroy, but it's actually something quite violent in its own right, and how that transfers into the character of Alec Holland as Swamp Thing. Now, I haven't read a lot of the Alan Moore Swamp Thing. I've only briefly read some things for the show, but the Scott Snyder Swamp Thing, that character is so three-dimensional. I mean, you've got the struggle against destiny. It's not something that he wants to embrace, but it's that ever-present, will destiny find you one day? Like, is it gonna happen? Is destiny a thing? And a very strong and powerful character in his own right as well. The ability to control the green. Again, he's not been as popularized as some other characters, and
well, and also them kind of tropes like, oh, I don't want to be the superhero, and you're kind of as powerful as your surroundings, and destiny, and those kind of traits are all familiar traits. Like, we've seen those in a lot of superhero stories and origins throughout the years, and really, I think the only thing Swamp Thing has that makes him interesting and dynamic is just that nature element. That kind of, I mean, the look of him, the way he exists on the page, and that kind of element and relationship to nature. Like, that's what makes him unique. Dr. Manhattan, I feel like, is untouchable in his uniqueness because of the strength of the writing. And I haven't read much Alan Moore Swamp Thing either. But I still do feel like, and still do believe that Dr. Manhattan character almost summed up everything that came before him, and in terms of that super entity, and is reflected in every character that came after him in terms of those anxieties that was first put out. Like, I really think he is that influential, as is the whole book.
I think... Yeah, I mean, I think I will have to agree that Dr. Manhattan is the more influential character, and it really says something about the fact that he was in one book.
Yeah.
That's all he's... Swamp Thing has been around since the early 80s, early 70s even.
Well, yeah, I mean, it speaks to the character, but it also speaks to the strength of the book. Like, and again, in this and in us talking about him, like he's kind of representing everything that book stands for, and rightly so. We don't have any of. He's the only one that was entered into this because he's kind of the top of the pile. He's the most interesting, and he kind of, as I say, reflects what comes before and is shown in what's after.
And also, must be said, had a much better, much smoother on-screen adaptation than Swamp Thing had. You have not seen the Swamp Thing film.
I have not seen it.
You should watch it. It's
should I though?
It's so bad it's good.
Okay. Well, good. We are ploughing on.
Yes, aren't we just? Aren't we just? So, yep, that's another pair done. Join us on Friday when we're going to be reviewing the month of January in all its entirety.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. It is @ComicBookShow1.
We'll see you tomorrow. Nope. See you on Friday.
Oh, that was a shame, wasn't it?